Welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, I want to talk about Fusion Strike, and is it just a meh type set? Because really, I haven't heard people being overly enthusiastic about Fusion Strike, and I think it's a multitude of reasons. I think some people are maybe getting a little bit of wallet fatigue. We have just had two banger sets in Evolving Skies and what Celebrations will probably be. And more importantly, one of the things that Pokemon is doing better than anything else is they're doing some awesome alternative art cards. And really, with the exception of maybe the Gengar and Fusion Strike, the Mew alternative art really was a letdown to a lot of people. The card just seems like it has too much going on. It appears to be part of a bigger scene. It's just overall not the best alternative art we've seen, and especially for a huge fan favorite, Mew being that big fan favorite, one of the original 151 Pokemon, number 151, a lot of people's actually favorite Pokemon. They just missed the mark a little bit with that alternative art, so I think that was a big letdown for a lot of people. But we're already starting to hear about, potential short print runs for Fusion Strike and all the potential price increases that could go with it. But I know a lot of people are probably just considering sitting back and just letting Fusion Strike be one of those sets that pass them by. I think a big battle cry and a big warning I've heard a lot of people talk about and different people discuss is that just after Celebrations, a lot of people expect to see a little bit of a retrace in the market and maybe the hype to die down a little bit. And people are talking about Celebrations almost as if it's the beginning to the end of this Pokemon hype. And I could see the argument and I could see why people would want to have that. But right now, the market isn't really proving that to be totally true. As we're seeing with Evolving Skies booster box prices continuing to increase like very quickly after that first wave. All the hype that's surrounding more of the premium type products for Celebrations. We got some really awesome, premium collection boxes coming out with the Jolteon, Flareon, Vaporeon that I talked about in my last video. And I think a lot of people are trying in their brains to rationalize what's going on. And they're trying to rationalize why is Pokemon continuing to be so hyped up. Because I just think that it's almost people are coming to that capitulation point. If you've ever seen that bubble graph, that big downward is that capitulation where people are almost ready to accept that Pokemon is in a bubble and they almost want prices to crash. It's like, what does capitulation even mean? It just means to surrender and to stop resisting. And I feel like people have gotten there. But the problem is they've gotten there where Pokemon in the hype is still super strong. And it's really hard to deny that. And why I say it's really hard to deny it is it's still very hard to get any type of the more in-demand products at MSRP, at retail. And like I talked about with all the pre-orders, especially those exclusives, which I just mentioned, those Pokemon Center exclusives, the premium collections, these products are still in such a high demand. It doesn't feel like, some sort of major retrace or where prices are totally crashing and burning around us. And honestly, we've seen two things happen that a lot of people didn't really expect to happen, especially this close to the release of Celebrations. Like I said, I think a lot of people really wanted to see Celebrations be that beginning to the end of the Pokemon hype. But we're still seeing modern products continue to increase in prices. A lot of the vintage stuff that was, yes, very heavily overpriced. We did see retraces, but a lot of that stuff has really leveled out. And where a lot of different products have leveled out, they've really leveled out above like 2019 prices. So that drastic crash still hasn't happened. Now, is it possible that still happens in the very near term? Sure. Anybody could be speculative against any market. You could be either very bullish towards a market or you could be very bearish to a market. And there's definitely pros and cons and good arguments on both sides. It's so weird to say that a lot of people were just hoping that the hype would die down after Celebrations, because I think a lot of people are just trying their very, very best to rationalize what's going on. And right now, it just feels like we're all strapped to rockets, and eventually the rockets have to run out of fuel. But for whatever reason, these rockets are just continuing to go strong. And like I said, that rationale for people to really start to understand what's going on, it can be very difficult and it could be very tough. And so when people say, well, I expect things to retrace after celebrations, the question has to be like, well, what are you basing that on? Because honestly, with the exception of Fusion Strike, we do not know what the next couple sets are going to look like. You know, we can make speculations and we can look at where the TCG is going. We can look at like all the different products that they're doing, and you could kind of look at some of the leaks from Japan. But realistically, we honestly do not know what 2022 is going to bring. And yes, is Fusion Strike a little bit more of a Mia type set? Yeah, it is. But you look at something like Battle Styles, you know, a lot of people felt the same way about Battle Styles as I feel a lot of people are feeling about Fusion Strike. But Battle Styles was anything but, you know, a Pokemon killer. Yeah, we definitely saw price retraces, but Chillin' Reign still had a ton of hype with it. Evolving Skies still had plenty of hype. Celebration still had a ton of hype. So even though Battle Styles was one of those Mia type sets, it just didn't have enough to kill enough hype. So that's what I'm not afraid, but that's what I think is going to happen with Fusion Strike. And I don't know what's going to happen in Pokemon next couple sets, but I just feel like Pokemon has so much, you know, capability and so much in their back pocket that really they can do anything they want and still come out with a pretty good set. And now, yeah, you know, timeout lets everybody put their tinfoil hats on, and I know there's a lot of people out there who like to do the more tinfoil hat type theories, and I think they're fun. You know, how much validity tinfoil hat theories have to them is one thing, but are they interesting? Are they, you know, fun to talk about? That's a separate subject, and yeah, they are fun to talk about. So the people out there with the tinfoil hats saying that Fusion Strike, the printing issues that happened, that all this stuff was purposely done by Pokemon. Now, I don't know if there's any kind of truth to that. I find that extremely, extremely highly unlikely. But let's just say that they did have that ace in their back pocket. That would just be like crazy manipulative marking type play, which you would almost have to give them credit. But I definitely don't think that's what they were trying to do. Fusion Strike does end up being one of those Mia type sets, but it's still wrapped up with all this FOMO and the potential that, you know, real short print runs and even waves 1, wave 2, wave 3s don't have the allocations that a lot of people are expecting, and especially the type of allocations people are expecting for modern sets. And yeah, everyone knows the famous Pokemon tweet they send out pretty much saying like, Pokemon understands that product is hard to find. They're doing everything in their capabilities to print to max capacity. And if this is max capacity, this is, you know, pretty scary going, you know, a little bit further into the future. But if that's the case, and Fusion Strike does end up being a Mia type set, and we do see like that huge FOMO, like I said, in prices increase, and it does turn into more of a battle style S type situation where prices really start to tank hard and start to drop, there can be a lot of people that do get wrapped up in the FOMO and spend really high prices for Fusion Strike at release. And those could be some of the people to really, really get burned real bad. Especially, I don't know how true this is, but I've read some people saying that some Fusion Strike pre-orders have creeped up to like the $200 mark. I haven't actually seen any pre-orders at that price. In fact, I haven't really seen any pre-orders for Fusion Strike in general. But let's just say that that number, just for the sake of argument, is even remotely true. Anybody buying Fusion Strike at $200 a booster box at pre-order, I could tell you with all certainty that those people will get burned super, super bad. And then on top of that, if people are spending that kind of money with zero intention of even opening the product to just sit on it as some sort of sealed investment, that's just, you know, adding on top of how much they're going to get burned. It's going to be really bad for a lot of people. I said it before and I'll say it again. For me, I think the future of Pokemon, especially when it comes to investable products and products that people are going to want to go after, I still am a strong believer that it's not so much on the sets anymore, that it's just going to be on the individual products. So it is still very possible that Fusion Strike does have some really awesome promos, whether that promo comes in, a 3-pack blister or some special premium collection box or a V-box or whatever. There is still a chance that there could be some real strong promos that could help carry certain products of this set for the long term. We're way too far out to even know what those could be. But overall, guys, I think it's such an interesting time in the hobby. I think these are important conversations to have. And I just ask that no matter what, you don't make any foolish decisions. You don't get wrapped up in any of this FOMO. You got to just remember all the, very recent hype that has kind of surrounded Fusion Strike. A lot of that has been wrapped up with the, rumors, I guess they're not really rumors, some of them have been confirmed right now, that there are going to be like a very small short print run and potentially the allocations are going to be very low. But you got to remember, before this news came out, nobody was really talking about Fusion Strike. So then it has to ask you, is the hype surrounding this, is it really true demand, or is it now just the FOMO taking over? And when that FOMO takes over, it just ends up becoming a beast of its own. And I just want you guys to remember that. Keep that in mind. But other than that, I'll catch you guys on the next video.